You're up, Kim.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to ask a little bit about the Women and Infants Nutrition Program, WIC. It's been widely reported that the president's budget will contain a 5% cut to discretionary programs, and you have said that the cuts to USDA programs will likely be even higher. The administration has made a lot of noise about how much they care about the health and well-being of babies, so I want to know if this includes the WIC program. Do you expect proposed budget cuts to affect the amount of money available to provide healthy food for our low-income pregnant women and new mothers caring for their babies and young children?
The WIC program, as you know, Senator, is a utilization program. There will be ample funding for all those. The economy has increased and helped, and we see a lower utilization of the WIC program. Many have alleged that's because of some of the immigration discussions. We've not been able to validate those anecdotes about that, but every woman, pregnant child will be able to use the WIC program as you desire.
Yeah. Will this proposed cut make it harder for women to get prenatal care, increase the likelihood of premature births, or reduce the number of babies born healthy?
The WIC program will be completely funded for all those who use it. That the money will be going down based on the expectation of lower utilization.
But the amount that the president puts in the budget, will it be based on what you recommend to him? Do you recommend a lower amount?
We recommend an amount that we estimate will be utilized. The usage, if there's a cushion and a reserve there, if, for instance, we have a higher utilization that's estimated, that reserve money in WIC will be utilized to serve the people who come and apply for WIC.
Okay. I want to build on what Senator Brown covered on the SNAP proposed rule on waivers. From the questions you've received over the past 2 days, it should be obvious that the recent proposed rule to limit the state's ability to apply for ABAWD waivers is a non-starter, having been rejected in both the House and the Senate. But I want to know why you chose to pursue the rulemaking process anyway. And I know that when Senator Sanders asked you on what did you base your decision to propose this rule, you said you were acting on the work of the House. But obviously that's not what the law says, and so I'm very disturbed about that answer. And second, did anyone at the USDA conduct an analysis of how this would actually affect the food security for low-income people?
What the law says that you voted for and passed, I assume you voted for it, it passed fairly overwhelmingly there. It says that requires 20 hours of work there. And then it says the secretary may waive those requirements there, and we are waiving some of those not those for able-bodied working adults without dependents. We are complying with the law with the proposed rule as passed.
Have you done any analysis about how this affects people who are disabled or mentally ill or are veterans, people who are in foster care, are foster youth, anyone who has mental health issues?
Senator, the rule we have proposed that you are commonly referred to as the ABOD. ABOD is an acronym for able-bodied working adults without dependents, adults able to work. Not disabled, not in any way with children or dependents. These are people who are able to work and have no dependents, and that's who we are addressing the rule, giving states a certain rural areas.
Well, one of the problems is that
I was waiting for you to
keep going.
hear from your staff before finishing my answer.
Go ahead, finish. Please.
And the provisions we are proposing in the rule give states some waivers for areas where high unemployment may occur for loss of a company or different things like that. You all also provided for a 12% cushion for states they could use for any purposes. But we do not believe that in states where the unemployment is 4%, that people able-bodied adults should be able to stay on work on food assistance interminably. That was and when you talk about the integrity of the law, that was the proposal that was signed. The law that you still have passed by amendment this past year.
Yeah, and I think the purpose of the law was for you to use your discretion. And so what I'm asking you is, what discretion did you use, and whether you had an analysis done to inform your discretion. For example, we have places all across rural upstate New York where there is so little work available. They don't have the jobs. You also have young adults who are in much more precarious situations. So, for example, a foster youth who might be 19 or 20 years old, he or she may not have the full capacity or the training he needs to get a job in the area. So I'm just asking, what kind of pushback have you done from an analytical perspective about where you should use your discretion? Because we don't want hungry people in America. We don't want people who are starving. We want to use the wealth and resources we have in this country. And I just am asking, how did you use your discretion, and what facts did you look at? And did you actually have the opportunity to understand perhaps why someone who might be considered able-bodied isn't actually working, what the actual impediment for them is?
The law that you passed still allows for 120 days for those people that you're talking about to be on food assistance. For the people that you're talking about where jobs are not available, that's the unemployment delta that would allow for a waiver in those areas where they exist.
So let's just say it's a persistent problem, and there's underemployment and unemployment, and you're only allowed 30 days of assistance or 3 months of assistance, in a 3-year period. So if that person can't get a job, giving them access to 3 months of food assistance isn't necessarily enough. If they can't get a job, people want to be working.
Senator, as I understand the labor statistics right now, I believe we have about 7.5 million jobs available and 6.5 million people unemployed, almost a delta of 1 million jobs going lacking. So that would be one of the bases.
Overtime, sorry. Okay, well, thank you, Mr. Secretary. I didn't realize I was over time. I was very excited about my questions. Sorry, Mr. Chairman.